City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Members Doris, Molly,
Present.
Mann,
Present.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Chris,
Present.
Mayor Chair Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Move to excuse Councilman Darrell Doris.
Does he have a note from his mother?
I second that.
Yeah, I got that.
He got one from his wife.
Wife, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. The invocation tonight is with Pastor David McCoy from the Grace Chapel Church.
It's good to be here. Thank you for this privilege to be here with you all. And let's go ahead and bow our heads in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for another day in life that you have granted to us. The past year, Lord, has been a season, has been a difficult time, but we have made it through. We thank you for every dignitary and our leaders who's doing an amazing job in our city to lead as best as they possibly can within their control. I pray, Lord, that you would give them wisdom, that you will give them sound guidance and direction, and as well cooperation with one another, with their peers, but then also from the community to actually see the good that is going on in our community. Is all we have to do is just take a glimpse and look and see. And just the fact that we're here today, gathered together, having an opportunity and the means to even be vaccinated, and then also even choose to approach life and as it comes, Lord, I just thank you for that freedom that we do have as we just recently celebrated Independence Day. So as these leaders of our city protect those rights, protect the opportunities, Lord, for our city to be a light and a beacon even to our states and all to the nation. I just pray that you would use these gifted individuals for this time and place to do that. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you.
It's okay. Sure. My pleasure. Everybody, hold the flag. Oh, there it is. If everybody would face the moved flag, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, before we go on, I want to introduce our new captain. This is John Lecrevade, right? Did I get it right? You got it right. Okay, great. John was the winner, or if you want to call it that, the selectee of 6 candidates. That it was really quite a remarkable day. I've been mayor a long time, and I thought that day was the one where the decision was the most difficult, because there were 6 people that were exceptionally qualified. Now, to be honest, what they usually do, or what they've done in the past, is they send us 2 dodos and the guy they want, right? And we get to pick him. But that was not the case this time. I mean, it was a grueling day, and it was a little contentious at times. But I thought the process worked, and we're looking forward to great things. And I don't care what Marvin said about you, you were the guy.
John, you want to come up and say a few words?
Mayor Paris and Council, I am extremely happy that I made it through the selection process, and I'm looking forward to serving the city of Lancaster. I've been a deputy sheriff working in many different communities for the last 26 years. I'm happy to bring all that experience to the city of Lancaster, and I'm happy to lead this group of men and women at Lancaster Station. They are the hardest working group of deputy sheriffs that I've ever had the pleasure of working around, and now I'm happy to be working with them. So I thank you for selecting me as your new captain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll try not to do that to you again, call you up, ask you to give a speech. You don't know you're having to give a speech. I mean, seriously.
I knew he was so qualified he could do it.
First thing I ever went to as mayor it was the opening of the YMCA, that new YMCA they built, or the announcement of building it, something like that. And I walked in and they told me I was the keynote speaker. I mean, thanks a lot, Nothing prepared. And that was just one of many times that occurred. Okay, city manager, anything to be removed?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Let's move
Unanimously.
on to the emergency declaration. And who are we hearing from?
Dr. Trump.
So I'll start the present as usual. We start with what's happening in the world. Then we go down to the nation, state, county, and then the city. I try to get as many good news as I can since last time I presented such somber news, but I think there's some good news ahead. Thank you. So the first slide is the world. On the left is the 7-day new cases. And as you can see, it was trending down, but now it seems to be an uptick towards the end there. The 14-day change, based on the chart below, is 16% of all cases. And we're now, throughout the world, 186 million cases, 4 million deaths. The map on the right, the darker the color, the purple is the highest in this past week, average daily cases per 100,000. And as you can see, South America, the tip of Africa, Russia really they're the ones with the most numbers. The United States is a little bit lighter. As you can see, we're about less than 12 per 100,000 cases. Africa and Asia, very favorable. Australia, very light yellow. Next slide, please. Going to the United States, as you can see also based on the graph, the 7-day graph, we continue to trend down, but now there seems to be a little of an uptick towards that tip there, towards the end there. Going below that, the 14-day change, it's up 59%. Throughout the country, we're now at 33.8 million cases, over 600,000 deaths. Looking at the map, most of the country is light yellow, which is about 10 or less per 100,000 this past week. And there are spots in the country that are still pretty hot. You can see there Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Missouri, parts of the South where it's red and dark red. Next slide. Going now to California, we are quite favorable, at least as of July 11th. The 7-day line is very flat. But if you look at the cases below, the 14-day change, it's up 80%. So the big picture is it's improved, but week over week, it's beginning to creep up. And we see that in our hospitalizations as well. Going to looking at the counties, LA County, if you've been listening to the news over the past several days, there's been uptick. We're now at 174% increase week over week. And the map shows most of us are light, but there's a county in Northern California that's pretty orange. Next slide, please. Going down to LA County, you see there the 7-day average. It's now increasing. And the test positivity rate is also increasing. And the 14-day hospitalization is also increasing. So we were doing relatively well, and then now there's a bump up. Going to the right of that, it's hard to see, but the test positivity rate line, that blue line is creeping back up again. Next slide. So what's the national forecast, and what's the LA County forecast? The 27 organizations that predict where we're going to head with COVID-19, it looks like it's picking up. The forecast is that there's going to be an increase, primarily due to the the variant, the Delta variant that we're going to talk about in detail a little bit. LA County, there's predictions that is also going to pick up as well. Next slide. So a couple of weeks ago, we barely talked about the Delta variant, the one in the orange box. And as you can see, this is the CDC's numbers. The orange box is now expanding. And in many communities, it is now the predominant. At least in LA County, we're over 50, 56%, close to 60% Delta. And Delta is problematic. It's 225% more contagious. It's more hospitalizations. The virus that it generates is up to 100 times more, and people get sick earlier. So the old wild type variant back in March of last year, you get sick, you pick up the virus by day 5, day 7 is when you begin to show your symptoms: cough, fever, headache. But this Delta variant, it's faster. The virus comes in earlier. You get sick day 3, day 5, and you're more contagious at day 3 and day 5 because the viral load that it generates is a lot higher than the old virus. Next slide. This is a July 8th news release. This is the good news. Despite the Delta virus, the Delta variant, despite the increase in cases, basically the vaccine is still doing its job. The outline here is that out of, there's been 4.6 million vaccines provided, and there's only 2,822 cases of fully vaccinated people in LA County contracted the disease. So if you're vaccinated, there's less than 1%. You see that's 0.06% chance that you get the infection. And even if you get the infection, 195 people were hospitalized, so it's 0.004239% that you'd be hospitalized. And the chance of death, only 21 people died out of that group, so it's 0.00457%. So it's really, really good news here that if you make the effort and you get the vaccine, you're really protected. And I have some numbers further that it's actually better than influenza. Next slide. So this tells us that 96% protective still, at least studies out of Britain and Canada. It's also 88% against symptomatic. So 96% protects against hospitalization and 88% effective against symptomatic. And this is the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines that we have. There's been a few reports of Israel showing that it may be less, but for the most part, all the major countries are showing that it's in the 88th percentile to 90% still against a Delta variant. Pfizer has put in its application for a booster. Of course, the Delta variant sequence genome will also be added to that, plus the other various variants that are circulating throughout the world. Next slide, please. So on to vaccination. We know that this is the tool that will get us out of the pandemic. And year to date, 3.42 billion doses have been given throughout the world. And in the United States, if you look at that table down there, we are 47% fully vaccinated for the most part. And comparing to other countries, we're a little bit down there. But it looks like England's ahead of us. Uruguay, of course, Israel is touted frequently in the news that it's very high in vaccination. So as a country, we're around a little under 50%. Next slide. This is the national number of vaccinations administered by day. The CDC's tracking it. And April was the peak. We were giving out 3 million doses a day. And over time, this has come down. 2 weeks ago when I presented here, we were at 1 million doses per day. Now we're down to less than 600,000 per day. Based on that, the projection is in order for us to get to 70%, now it's moved forward to January 7th. We were hoping for maybe October, November to get the whole country 70% vaccinated, but Basically, the interest and the drop in vaccination has pushed that date further out. Next slide, please. So let's go to LA County. This is from their vaccination website. Year to date, age 16 plus with at least one dose, 68%. That's 5.7 million doses. And approximately 60% have been fully vaccinated. And LA County has another 8 million people to go. Here's the best part. Here's the good news. The most vulnerable population are really well vaccinated. We are at 87% for age 65 and over. And as you recall, that was the highest rate of deaths during the pandemic. So the most vulnerable are now very well protected, and that's really good news. Next slide. Here's the LA County map and tracking. The darker green is the highest rates. So you see the cities along the coast and also the San Gabriel Valley. They seem to be getting a good number of vaccinations in. Our area is up there, light yellow, light green. We're about the 40-50 percentile. And that's to the right of that is the graph of daily vaccinations in LA County. And just like the rest of the country, the interest is dropping moderately since March, April. Next slide. This is an interesting slide showing the ethnic groups that have received the vaccines. And at the highest at the top there appears to be the Asian group, and at the bottom there is the Black African American, the green line. And then I think the white is the red line, and then American Indian, Alaska Natives, and then the orange is Latinx. So this is the LA County's latest ethnic breakdown of those who have received the vaccines. Next slide. And you can also look up the particular cities. We are here in Lancaster, the 16-plus population. We're at 50.1%. But really, if you look to the right at the 65 and above, very well protected. We're 80th percentile. So as we know, there won't be any outbreaks among our 65-year-olds anymore. Once you've reached your 70 or 80%, that population does not get outbreaks. Compare us to Palmdale, they're about 7% higher for the 16 plus and 85% for 65 and over. Next slide. In March, JAMA published this table showing that deaths in COVID-19 has now ranked number 3 in terms of types of death. Number 1 is heart disease, number 2 is cancer. COVID-19 came up as 3rd and beat out all the strokes, respiratory illnesses, Alzheimer's, et cetera, diabetes even. As you can see there, influenza is below that, ranked 7th or 8th. Which is interesting in the next slide. Next slide. So this is from the CDC. Basically, they track years cases and deaths year after year for influenza. And this is the first year that we now have accurate numbers. And basically, if you look at the case fatality ratio, the third row in that table, basically, it is if you take deaths divided by number of cases, that's your ratio. It's a very raw number. And if you look at influenza 2017, 2018, 61,000 deaths divided by 45 million gives you the 0.135% rate of death. 2018, 2019 influenza, 35 million cases, 34 million deaths, 34,000 deaths. And that ratio is 0.09%. If you go over to COVID, these are the actual numbers we have currently. 596,000 deaths divided by 33.8 million cases. That number is 0.0176, which is 1.76%. It's about 13 to 18 times more deadly than influenza, just by itself. If you look at LA County's numbers, the ones that are published July 8th, if you have the vaccine, only 21 deaths occurred of those who received the vaccine. And the math on that would be gosh, really, really low, 0.00045%. Basically, it's 200 times less deadly than influenza. So the really good news is if you get your vaccine, you will probably be less likely to die of it than influenza even, which is very remarkable. This vaccine basically has changed the way we're dealing with the pandemic. Next slide. So we talked about what are the ways that we can improve vaccination, and everyone's really searching for a reason. The New England Journal last week published this article on what they think would help with vaccinations. And they talked about the incentives so far. Some are fun, $100 savings in West Virginia, free beer in New Jersey and Connecticut, Krispy Kreme donuts nationwide. Ohio has lotteries. California gave out prepaid grocery cards in May. In June, $50,000 cash prizes, drawings. In June 15th, 10 lucky Californians were awarded 1.5 million lottery tickets. So, but those are the incentives. Next slide, please. They do have the top 3 reasons they think, based on previous pandemics, influenzas, previous outbreaks. These are the things that they know have worked in the past. And they recommended 3 things. Number 1, organizations that take care of patients could mandate COVID vaccine for their employees. Because we're already doing it for influenza. If I did not get my influenza vaccine, I can't go to work, and I need to wear a mask if I go to work and face patients. So that's also been years, many years. University of Pennsylvania has begun to basically require all health employees get vaccinated. So that's one way. The other way that they recommend is that vaccination mandates in schools and workplaces, high contact settings such as meat packing plants, prisons, nursing home staff schools. These areas had the huge outbreaks in the beginning. Cruise ships, for example, these are the areas that if you mandate, you probably get a lot more traction with vaccinations. Next slide. Number 2, they talked about access to activities that involve close person-to-person contacts could be granted only to vaccinated people. This is a big statement because they recommend that live attendances at large venues, colleges, university enrollments, restaurants, gyms, and sports. They talked about limiting access to only those who have been vaccinated or create special sections for those not vaccinated or vaccinated. Next slide. And then number 3, more of a bigger picture, raise health care premiums, life insurance premium for those who decline vaccination, because basically the cost is, year to date, the cost is about $16 trillion, and basically redistribute the high expected health care cost to those who do not receive the vaccine. But these are just recommendations. These are just a published article from New England Journal, something that we could look at, but not by all means adopt every one of them because they seem to be very difficult. Next slide. And that's all I have, so we can go to questions.
Any questions?
So we're in good shape.
We are in a good shape as long as we get our vaccines. As you can see, the numbers are creeping up, and we see it too in our as we see patients day to day. It's creeping up.
But the vulnerable population,
Yes.
from what you told us at the beginning,
Yes.
is 65 and above. That's at 85 plus.
Yes.
That's vaccinated. So we've done well there.
We've done well protecting the most vulnerable, precisely.
I feel so much better with Marvin over here getting his vaccine. I feel so much better. He's in that group.
Is he over 65, I'm guessing?
He just went over that group. Pretty soon I'll be with Ken and Rex at 80 plus.
To put a little damper on our enthusiasm for how well we've done, I hate to be the downer constantly here, but yes, the senior citizens have done an excellent job. As a group, they're highly intelligent.
You know, we call this ageism. There's a reason there's an ism on the end of it.
Yeah, well, by 65 and above, you've learned a lot. You've been bumped around by life, and you tend to make good decisions. Unfortunately, when you look at the states where hospitalization's going on now, we're seeing a lot of 30-year-olds and people in 40-year-olds getting hospitalized. This is not what we saw in the first part of the pandemic. These are people who are out working. They're going to social events. They have a lot of social interactions, and guess what? They're getting sick, and they're getting hospitalized, and some of them are dying. And the trends, although it looks like a little blip, that doesn't look good. The numbers are low, but they're going in the wrong direction. And so we really have two different things going on. It's largely over if you're vaccinated, but it's nowhere near over if you're unvaccinated. I'd love a positive incentive where I think if we made a lottery and said, you pay no taxes for the rest of your life, how many people do you think we could get in that pool? But I mean, the question is, why do we have to people around the world would give, their left arm to be vaccinated in many continents, many countries, and yet here it's free and available.
Mm-hmm.
So Maria has some really good ideas we talked about today.
Yeah. Thank you. It's kind of nice to see all of you guys. It's my first time here, so I did have the opportunity to meet earlier with Jason about certain ideas in terms of grassroots outreach. I know that's what you talked about, Marvin, in the last meeting. It's like, how can we go out there and reach out, the community? And so one of the things that we probably discussed earlier is probably a partnership with other organizations and be out there, recruit people to do more like health ambassadors, and educate the community about the vaccine. And I think in the past, when I worked in specifically education and health, community health, that's one of the things that I developed with breast and cervical cancer. And so in terms of COVID, the fact that we weren't able to meet last year or to have one-on-one conversations, people went on the internet. That's where they received all of their information. But when you meet with someone one-on-one who is part of your community, who has been trained specifically on COVID-19 and learned about the reluctances of obtaining the vaccine, then you have that conversation. And you do have, behavioral health, different levels in which, well, I'm thinking about it. Maybe if I hear about this, and then you come back, this outreach worker or ambassador comes and follows up with you and says, hey, have you really decided now on taking the vaccine or not? And then you just follow up, have that one-on-one conversation. And quite honestly, if we partner with even healthcare agencies like we have now, it will make access even faster too. So there will be no barriers to obtaining the vaccine. So those are just some of the ideas in terms of how we can go in the community and educate our people, our residents, and increase vaccination rates.
Thank you. No, we're not done. Everybody, it's no secret I've been giving interviews because, I have a different view of this than a lot of cities. But it's a struggle for me to figure out what the appropriate view is, and Jason and I have had hours of conversations about it. But it seems like to me anyway, there isn't any doubt it's our obligation to protect the public health. And actually the law on it is pretty clear. We shall protect the public health. Being a lawyer, I kind of know the difference between when they add that word, it means we can pretty much do whatever we need to do. And we shall do it. It's not optional. We signed on to this. We have to do it. But now I think in the epidemic, we've reached the stage where it's becoming personal health. Have we adequately protected the public? And are we now moving into that area that's personal? And, I think it's an impossible question as to why people don't get the vaccine. And I think there's many reasons. But I'm mindful of the fact that, we quit doing ceremonies for kids who committed suicide because they were bullied, because it caused other kids to commit suicide. It was contagious. And I bring that up because it doesn't matter how irrational it is. it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. When people, something happens in their head and they make a decision, and logic's not going to persuade them. Reason's not going to persuade them. Something happens in our head, and for some reason, in this country, it's become political. I mean, defines which party you belong to, which to me is just totally absurd. If anyway, it should be reversed. I mean, Republicans are the ones about public safety. I mean, it should be reversed, but it's not. It is what it is. So what I fall back on whenever we reach this point is, what does the science tell us? To me, the goal is, I don't ever want to see a day again where we're on the phone begging for FEMA help, or ever again where we're so grateful that we get a field hospital that was built for third world countries. Remember, that was just a few months ago.
Yeah.
I never want to see that again. So how do we avoid seeing it again? The fear that I'm reading about is this Delta variant. It's 5 times more contagious. It doesn't seem to be all that more lethal yet. But as long as we don't have herd immunity, this disease will continue to mutate. You want to remember the first year of the Spanish flu wasn't that bad compared to the second year when it mutated and just wiped out, decimated every population out there. That could happen here. So what is our role in all of this? I need benchmarks. I need to know when the average antibody levels in the valley drop below what will protect them. Because we have that concern that those of us who are vaccinated, it's going to wear out. Or a new variant will come along that can bust through it. I want advanced warning of that. I want to know when that's a real possibility. And that's why I have so many deputy mayors that can tell me those answers, right? But I want you guys to make a recommendation to us. When it gets to this number, we have to act so that we have some real science behind it. Because right now it seems to me we're at the place that people want to take the risk on terrible consequences. That's their choice. They've made that decision. But that's different when it comes to us as a city. As a city, if we have people that are within 6 feet of the civilian population or citizens, they have to be vaccinated. I mean, unless you guys tell me you don't agree with that, they have to be vaccinated. If they're not, we need to find another job for them to do if it's available. And if it's not, I think they have to be suspended. We definitely have the ability to do that. The EEOC came out and the federal government has come out and said we have an obligation to provide a safe working environment. If we decide, and I think there's every reason to decide that means vaccinations, that's what it means. But at least for City Hall and the city, I think that should be the minimum standard. If you have close contact with the public, you can't be in that position unless you're vaccinated. What AVTA does with their bus drivers, I don't know, but I know what I would do. I mean, it wouldn't be optional. If people choose to have a profession that puts them in close contact with the public, I don't think you get to choose to expose that public to a life-threatening disease, regardless of the fact that those people could have been vaccinated. Because there's always that wrinkle. It's like the people they're infecting also chose not to protect themselves. And I'd like to hear your thoughts, Dr. Trong.
Well, we know in influenza, if I did not get my flu vaccine, then I don't get a sticker on my ID. And every year it changes the color so people can look and say, oh, he didn't get his sticker. So that means he should be wearing a mask if he's going to interface with patients, or better yet, work in a setting where you're not even dealing with the patients. You're behind the scenes. So we already do that, and that's really the law for influenza throughout LA County. We could probably take the next step and ask the same with COVID. But we haven't done that in the hospitals yet. Even in our own hospitals, our own staff, there's reluctance to take the vaccine. So there's that, we got to do it carefully and slowly rather than one fell swoop. But yes, it's been done, and it's a thought.
But what I'm hearing from you is that from a medical point of view and from a science point of view, this really isn't a choice. It's a political and personal choice why you're having difficulty with hospital employees. And the reality of it is the only reason that's a problem is because the people in leadership are afraid to make the decision and enforce it. Because really, are you telling me that I could have one of my kids or somebody close to me in that hospital being treated by somebody who could infect them with COVID? Is that conceivable? I mean, that to me just demonstrates a lack of political courage. But, I have no doubt it does mean that I could not be sitting here a year from now. I mean, people are very motivated when it comes to this. But that doesn't mean we have the right to not make the right choices and the right decisions. And what I need to know is what are those right decisions? And then if we decide not to do it, I want to be transparent about that too. If I'm just too afraid to do it, I want to say it. I'm just too afraid to do that even though I know it's the right thing to do. I don't know that it's the right thing to do today, but I will know if antibody levels diminish to the point that vaccinated people become vulnerable. And to me, that is probably the point where we become pretty draconian. I mean, we have enormous authority as a city in this, we have the absolute right to do more than what public health is doing, just not less. And I'm going to ask you to exercise that. And so far you have. I mean, there's not been any question. But let's also be honest, I'm not up for re-election. I know. Would I have a different view if I was up for re-election? I don't think so. But I know that within this city, on this table, nothing is going to be hidden. Nothing will be, we will talk about it all, and we will make our decision in the light of day for everybody to see, knowing that, a significant portion of the population are going to not like us when we're done.
Can I respond?
Sure.
To me, there's a big difference between the political courage to do it and the political courage not to do it. It's a lot of people that I know don't want the vaccine for whether it's political, whether it's religious, but that's what this country was founded on, to me. And it's not about the political courage to say it. It's about the political courage to say, I respect the Constitution. I respect what you're doing. I don't agree with it. So don't get me wrong. I'm vaccinated. I think everyone should get vaccinated. I think it's very dangerous for the country for everyone not to get vaccinated because of the mutation process. But it has nothing to do with whether you have the courage to do it or not. I'm not going to tell those people, or at this point, I'm not going to tell those people, you have to do this or you can't come into City Hall for this and this reason. I think we've done an excellent job vaccinating our most vulnerable. I think the city has done an excellent job, letting everybody know. I think we've done a very poor job letting the minorities communities, they don't have the same contacts, the same response that we might have. So we need to do a better job reaching out before we get too draconian on it and that. If the numbers start to go back up, we need to start doing everything back up. The ABTA has not changed anything from that. They still wear the mask. They're still protected with the barriers. They're still, because that's mandated. I can live with the 6 feet. I can live with wearing a mask with the public when they come in if they're not vaccinated.
You misunderstood what I said.
Okay?
I'm not saying the public can't come in. I'm saying our staff.
No, that's what I'm saying. If they're interacting with the public, they're not vaccinated, I can live with us mandating to them they have to wear a mask or 6 feet.
Right now, the way I read the emergency powers that were granted me, I have the authority to order that. If you guys want to override me, you can do so. But it is my obligation to protect the public. And when people come into this city hall and have to deal with somebody over the counter, because nobody comes in here because they want to, they have business, they have to do it. They have to know that the person that is in their face, it's safe for him to be there.
I agree with that.
Okay, so we don't have a disagreement about that.
Not on protecting it. I'm referring back to some of the comments that were made at the last council meeting about the sheriff's department not working here, the fire department.
Well, and let's be honest with that too. Is the only reason we're not doing that is because we need the sheriff's department. You know, I'm hoping that the new captain is working on that diligently. We didn't have it was a fight we probably weren't going to win. I mean, I'm not going to hide from that. Do I think that they should? They should. You know, how can you take an oath to protect the public safety? That's why you're police officers, to protect the public safety, and then be a agent of the opposite. But, you know, I mean, I could be wrong, but Captain, deal with it.
So,
I'm not sure if it was on there. I'm trying to set the example vaccination. I was the first people.
You know, I would like you to assess how many I would like you to assess how many deputies, what percentage of the deputies are not. And then we should have the discussion of what it's going to take. The other thing Jason brought out was, you know, if we push too hard, resistance increases. You know, I raised 4 kids, and I knew never to comment on their boyfriends or girlfriends. You know, no matter how much I might not like them, do not say a word. You know, there's that. Our goal is just to never see a field hospital in our city again. And for anybody that is wondering why this is such a big issue to me, is because I saw those trucks filled with dead people. You know, I talked to those families who could not be with their loved ones when they died. And that was just a few months ago. Interestingly enough, I thought the numbers were that the Latino population had more vaccinations than the white population. Is that accurate?
No, based on the graph that I showed, that came directly from the LA County vaccination dashboard. It looks like they're second from the bottom. So you have Black, African American, and then Latino X, then the Native American, then white, and then the Asian, based on that graph.
So Mayor, if I could share a couple of observations, and either Dr. Trong or Dr. Saad here could answer this. Don't you think that if we looked at, and this is obviously right now going to be an opinion on your parts, don't you think that, to me, it's more common sense when you see Latino and or African American? I'm going to suggest, and I don't want people to hear this negatively, but if there's a particular group that is not seeing a medical doctor on a regular basis, I would think that there's less comfortability about trust when we see a doctor on a regular basis. You feel pretty comfortable, and when you're dealing with science, just like when somebody says, well, I got a hip replaced, they're clearly telling you, I believe in science. And, science is a miracle. I mean, to me, I'm amazed at how quick we were able to come up with the vaccine. But don't you think that that's part of why those numbers are low? I mean, I can remember doing medical missions in Mexico for about 10 years. And, it's clear there's a population there that just doesn't have the accessibility of medical doctors. And I think that there's a population that's migrated to the United States. And I would think that I could be wrong, that there's a barrier there. And to Marvin's point, because it's funny, I listened to Rex, and I believe he's got a valid point, but also, too, if we looked at the numbers of Hispanic and African American and their numbers were higher, we might be well onto that 70%, and we wouldn't really be having a discussion. So maybe that's where we need to concentrate our attention. So I said that, so now your thoughts.
Well, maybe, Doctor, if I can jump in. And I had a conversation with Maria after we talked to Mayor about educational opportunities. And as you know, the fair site, we've got 2 sites.
Speak into your microphone.
I'm sorry. We've got 2 sites that are operating at the fairgrounds to limited capacity. I mean, we're getting 20 or 30 vaccines there at a time. So we're looking at closing that. And then after talking to Maria, there's an opportunity for education, taking those resources, right, that effort, that staffing, to kind of engage in a more boots on the ground effort to get the vaccine out. And we know that first group of people were easy to vaccinate, right? Everybody wanted to vaccinate. They didn't need to be sold. They didn't need to be told. They needed to just know where to go. We're into that group now that's maybe a little harder to reach, right? There may be a little more difficulty in understanding that and taking a positive approach in partnership with other vendors. Maybe it's Partners for Health, healthcare providers, city partners, the hospital, whoever gets involved, and do a greater outreach in an effort to try to get people inoculated. And, Maria talked to me just before the meeting. I think we need to put a lot of meat on those bones, but there's an opportunity there to help continue that effort that we all know is right, but do it in a different way. And I think that Maria's, volunteered. I know Dr. Stock and Dr. Trong and Tiffany are all supportive of helping, but getting a bigger coalition to get that done.
I agree. I mean, looking at your numbers, it looks like the white population has reached herd immunity.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that for a second. Look, I mean, we're already divided enough as a society. But let's be clear where we're at. The white population is now safe, right? That is not acceptable.
This is America. I'm confused. So,
I mean, I was of the impression that it was a Republican-Democrat thing, but not in California, apparently. The rest of the nation maybe so, but not here. I mean, most of our Republicans, let's face it, are in the over 65 group. It's an older population. They're the most heavily vaccinated. So let's be clear where we're at. We're in a city where the white population is safe. The Latino population, not quite as safe. And the African American population, not safe at all. I'm not prepared to say that we weren't part of that. That we haven't done a sufficient outreach we need to balance that inequity, and we need to put all of our efforts into it.
yeah.
And I didn't really realize that until this moment.
Yeah, because again, if we were at 70%, I don't think we'd be having a lot of conversations, would we now?
Correct.
And if we take those categories, those 2 categories, specifically Latino, and if we were not just I'm just using that as an example, if we had them equal to the other categories, maybe we would be close to 70. We wouldn't even be having a conversation. We would say, gosh, we're right at the magic number of herd immunity, and we'd be,
We pulled our 10.
yeah.
I mean, you know, it'd be up to the individual. Sean, fix this. I mean, this really is a social equity issue
It is.
of utmost importance. And you have the resources of the city. I want you part of that discussion. Fair enough?
And I think what Sean has done, I saw your post on the first shot, saw your post on the second shot, and that's what we need. We need all the community leaders to say it's okay to get the vaccination. It's okay to move forward. And for you doing it, you're out there, you know, showing that it's okay. We'll get there. So thank you very much.
Dr. Trang, I have one question.
Yeah.
It's kind of technical. I ran into a couple of people. They got the first one,
Yes.
first vaccine, and they never went to get a second one.
Right.
And now it's been like 2-3 months, and they were saying, oh, we have to start all over again, or they can just get a second one. How does that work?
So based on the both Pfizer and Moderna study that are published, they basically follow the strict rule that first shot at day 0 and the second shot at day 28. So that we can only guarantee after the second shot, then you will get your 88 to 96%. Anything else in between, the first shot gives you 50% protection at day 14. And then after that, you need your second shot to get up to the 90th percentile. So most of the time, you could scatter the shot further down, but no more than, it's been talked about, no more than 4 days delayed. So after 28 days, the most you can do is add another 4 days to that. Then you have to recommend to start the series again.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you just go get your Johnson & Johnson, which is just one shot.
I see. So
Yeah.
they can change it to different ones.
Yeah, they can switch to Johnson. We have so much vaccine now, you can actually pick and choose and request. So that's the
All right,
case.
thank you.
Wow, what a
Sure.
different side. I also learned recently that it's in phase 3 trials now,
Yes.
which is a nasal inhalant, that the vaccine is now a nasal inhalant. And that announcement should be within the next couple months where that becomes available.
It would be helpful to have more modalities. Not everyone likes the shot. We have nasal influenza as well, and it's not used a lot either. So, but it's always good to have an alternative, a choice, and more
I think people
modalities,
would be less hesitant.
for sure.
And it's one and done, and we can store it. We don't have to.
Right. Regarding the antibody that you requested, the current antibody tests for the core of the virus, the core protein. The antibody generated by vaccines is the spike, which is a surface antibody. So we don't have a test for the vaccine generated by the spike. That's too bad, but I'm sure companies are working on it.
So I'd like to make 2 comments. It's a fantastic presentation and great ideas. One is a practical question, or not a question, but public health tries to understand what sort of things motivate people and what sort of techniques would work to get people to do healthy behaviors. In this case, we're up against it. Jason's exactly right. The first group just needed to know where to go and have an appointment. You didn't have to give them anything. They were self-motivated. Now, everyone, the next person to go is tougher and tougher to get vaccinated. So everyone around the world, or around the country at least, is working on the same problem. We don't know what's going to work. Maria and I spoke earlier that maybe the thing to do is go to the area with the lowest vaccine rate in our area, and do a pilot, and let's see what works. So we find what works, we can tell the rest of the country, because it'll be innovative. If we do things the way traditional Latino healthcare workers go into a neighborhood and do health promotion, that's fantastic. If we have social influencers on social media, people in our community who are social influencers, whether it's in young people's community, whether it's law enforcement, the scanners community, we have these pockets where there are influencers who, if they stood up and said, I'm going to get vaccinated, people would start listening to them because they influence other people by definition. And the philosophic thing is, during World War II, there was more of a sense of country, more of a sense of community, that we're all pulled in the same direction, and less about what's good for me. So I left my life, I went overseas, I did what I had to do for my country, even if it wasn't my plan, and some people lost their lives, some people got disabled, but we did it as a community, and people, it was what the country did to survive and to move past this, what was going on in the world at that time. We've lost that a little bit. We've worked on what's good for me, maybe my family, but community and the country, we've lost that a little bit. We are back in that moment right now. We have to rebalance that sense because while I'm pretty well protected, children less than 12 and people that are immunosuppressed, even if the people got vaccinated who are immunosuppressed, they're not fully protected. Children less than 12, parents with young children, they're worried about their children, they're not fully protected. And so, yeah, people come into the market without a mask on and not vaccinated, might get my kid sick, right? Or might get my sister sick. So that's one thing. The second is that as you pointed out, people have chosen not to get vaccinated. They are the reservoir where the new variants are coming from. They are the mutation factories. And so they are putting the rest of us at risk. So while I feel pretty well protected, I'm probably not going to get sick. I'm worried that the next mutation might. And we see what's going on in South America right now, 10% death rate, right, for the virus.
Peru, yes, 10%.
Right. So that could be our 1919, part of this pandemic if we don't watch out. I'm sort of making a plea to our community. We need to think about the community. We need to think about outside of ourselves. I want you to think about yourself, but it's got to be in balance,
I think that's a brilliant idea about figuring out how we motivate the subcategories of people that are resistant, right? And you guys are the best ones to spearhead it. You're going to need marketing people and survey people and stuff like that. We will work with you on that.
Your social equity committee could be very helpful as well too.
Yep. Okay, you guys up for that?
Okay,
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do that.
okay.
Do I need to do anything, or is that good enough direction?
There's great direction, both on the educational part and the next phase of our vaccination, but I have the authority with regard to staff. We'll be looking, and I've already talked to HR about what protocols we can put in place, what operational changes we can do to accommodate what I think the council's vision is.
Okay.
That public health protection, as well as keeping those employees who have been essential workers working all the time, working hard every day, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also protecting them, because that's part of the story as well. So I think we can put together those protocols.
I am confident that somebody like me is going to start filing lawsuits because we're not providing a safe place to work, and it's going to be against employer after employer after employer. The only reason those lawsuits have not been filed is the FDA has only provisionally approved it, and so that's an argument. We are a couple weeks away from the FDA approving it, fully approving it. And then the employers are going to have to make a choice. They want to deal with the lawsuits, they can. Or they can just require the employees to be vaccinated. But that's what's coming. I mean, let's not, and what I really don't want is I don't want our businesses in Lancaster to not be ready, that they will have to face that decision. But I got 25 lawyers, and none of us have figured a way around it. That the moment it's fully approved, how those lawsuits don't happen. And to be honest, I have people in my office who refuse to get vaccinated. It's a difficult quagmire we're in. But I love the idea of you looking for the positive deviants, because that's really what it is. And you guys are the most equipped to know how to do that. And maybe we'll have another impact on the world. It seems like we do it a lot here.
Try.
You good with that?
I'm good. I'm good with that. If it's like what I said last meeting, we need to reach out more, and that's what we're doing. and to reach out into those communities.
Yes.
I think that's the way.
Yeah, I think that's the big missing. Like I said, if we put those numbers back up on both the Hispanic population and the African American.
There, that one.
Yeah. So if we made that equal to, brought that up, would that not kick us over to 70%? And I think it would. Now, I haven't done the math. That's I guess for you to take that number and do the math.
So based on that graph, the red line is the white population. They're at 60-ish.
Okay.
The orange line is the Latinx. That is at 50.
Okay,
and the
that's
green,
10% missing.
Yeah. And then the green line is at 40%. That's Black African American.
That's 20.
Yeah. So
if we had those equal to, we'd be a lot closer to that 70.
Yeah. The only group that made it so far is the Asian group at 70-ish%, close to 80.
Oh, okay. We like those guys.
It's cultural
Right?
too. It's cultural too. I know in the Asian community, vaccines are very important, and you get your vaccine because you protect your family. It's you respect your elders, and if the infection is affecting the elders, you get yourself vaccinated so you don't bring it to your family, your elders.
But there's something going on here. You talk to every Latin American mother in L County, they all vaccinate their kids. Okay, it's like almost 100%.
It's cultural, yeah.
Much better than the Caucasian population in Brentwood, I can tell you that.
Right.
Okay, so, they're hoping everybody else vaccinates their kids so they don't have to vaccinate their kids. And so there's something else going on here, It may be that it's a male thing, male adult thing. They feel invincible and they don't want to get vaccinated or be bothered by it. They feel strong, feel good. I don't buy that it's a Latin thing because I see a very strong vaccine culture.
Yeah, it's one of the things like I'll be interested in doing as well, because like Dr. Trong had mentioned, it's the same thing with my population, which is a Mexican American, and so I would like to know as to why as well, because this is I know for a fact there was a shutdown. There was not that one-on-one education. There was hardly any gatherings, but that's where I want to see with this type of grassroots effort. Maybe we can find out exactly why.
Yeah.
And find out what the rationale was for not getting vaccinated, and develop something from there.
It's actually a simple marketing exercise. It's horizontal segmentation. We do it in jury research all the time. And what it is that not everybody likes, the research was on coffee, interestingly enough. How do you make the perfect coffee? Well, there is no perfect coffee. But if you cut it into 4 different coffees, you can make coffee that is make you deliriously happy. But it's the segment you fall in. And it rarely is ethnic. All of the segmentation studies we've done since then, rarely does it break into ethnic categories. But I can see why maybe it does here. And it's also interesting that the first child to die in the Antelope Valley of COVID was Asian. And it was also the first death that I became aware of was a child. And so that's the other thing we should be worried about, is we're seeing a lot more serious cases with children. And I don't think anybody's answered why. So it's up to you, Dr. Trong. It's up to the deputy mayors. Do your job. Come on. What's going on?
I think we have a good plan. Reaching out to the vulnerables, the ones that are the ones on that graph that need the vaccines. We have to reach out and find out why and provide. We now have vaccines. We now have resources. At the beginning, we didn't have vaccine. We were fighting for it. Now, it's just plenty of it.
Remember?
So, yes,
remember
we were fighting.
What we went through just to get
them up here. Yep, for sure. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, it was very informative. Thank you. I
learned
a lot I didn't understand.
Thank you.
Do we have to do anything, City Attorney?
Yeah, we have to vote.
There has not been a motion. You've given direction to the city manager, so there's no vote to be taken. You've given direction to the city manager. There's no vote to be taken.
Do we have to I thought we voted every 2 weeks to continue the emergency declaration.
That's every 60 days.
Every 60 days?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Should we be seeing if there's any speakers?
Yes, we should.
At this time, anyone wishing to come in on ED1, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to come in on ED1. No speakers for ED1.
Okay, the consent calendar. Anything to be removed? Any conflicts? Any speakers?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on the consent calendar, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to comment on the consent calendar.
For clarity, the consent calendar includes CCEA, CC1.
No speakers at this time.
Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar that includes CCEA, CC1.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. And it's unanimous. Public hearing item 1. Public hearing is now open. And we'll hear from Jeff Hubbard.
Any speaker?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This time every year, we are required to re-levy an assessment on our 4 districts. This public hearing is for the Lighting Maintenance District. Staff recommends that we adopt this resolution to adopt the assessments for this year. And then we'll have the next 3 public hearings, Mr. Mayor, is for sewer, landscape, and for drainage. But this one in particular is for lighting.
So it's all 3 in a row, right?
Yeah.
Could
4
we
in a row,
not?
yeah.
Could we not open all 4 public hearings? No, we got to take them one at a time?
We do.
Okay.
Taking the first one, anybody have any questions? Any speaker comments?
Mr. Mayor, your mic's not on.
Anybody have any questions? Any speaker cards?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on PH1, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to comment on PH1. No speakers at this time.
Let's vote.
Motion to adopt
Oh, that's right. We
resolution
need a motion.
21.
Got to close the public hearing.
You going to close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
Motion to adopt resolution 21-41.
Second that?
Let's vote. Passes unanimously. Public hearing item 2. Let's open the public hearing. Any speaker cards?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on PH2, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to comment on PH2. No speakers at this time.
Is there a motion?
Close.
Oh, close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution 21-42.
Second that?
Let's vote. Passes unanimously. Moving on to public hearing item 3. Are there any speakers?
At this time, anyone
Open the
wishing
public hearing, please.
Open the public hearing. Now, are there any speakers?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on PH3, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to comment on PH3. No speakers for PH3.
Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt Resolution 21-43.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. Passes unanimously. I want to see the code section that says I have to say, open the public hearing. I think that sounds like one of those things, we've just always done it that way, because it makes little sense to me.
The purpose of having you open and close the public hearing is to ensure that in the event of a challenge, we have brackets around the evidence that was before you and considered by you in adopting these items. That's when we have a public hearing, we have to be clear about what is part of the public hearing and what is not. And so that's why we have you open and close.
So you did make it up. Okay, I get it, but it makes sense.
Courts don't like it when it's unclear what was part of the record and what was not. And
I've noticed that.
Yes.
I've noticed that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, maybe you didn't make it up.
Definitely not me.
All right. Public hearing item 4. Any speakers?
Open the public hearing, please.
Open the. You can tell I'm resistant.
Just for fun.
Sort of like vaccinations, I guess. It's deep. Open the public hearing. Are there any speaker cards?
At this time, anyone wishing to come in on PH4, please press star 9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press star 9 at this time if you wish to come in on PH4. No speakers at this time.
Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt Resolution 21-44.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. Passes unanimously. That was riveting report, Jeff.
Try harder next time.
Okay.
You're so
Council
convincing.
reports.
The fairgrounds, we had a wonderful 4th of July. The participation was good. I think what we did over there was wonderful. Both cities participated. It was a spectacular 4th of July. Both cities participated in a tug of war and a potato race. Daryl's not here, but he tells everyone that he won the potato race after 5 tries. So he did good.
We do have a short video right now if you want to share it, Marvin, if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, we ought to point out that we did lose the tug of war.
There's validation in this video.
What?
There's validation of that in this video.
Okay. Thank you. I thought that show they put on, the fireworks show, was the best I've ever seen. I've never seen that many fireworks. The actual show itself was like most finales, and the finale was just over the top. I thought the staff did a great job with that.
next year, we got to work on that, on that tug of war thing. Although I was about ready to file a workers' comp claim. I was in pain for 4 days after that.
I figured you were going to be sore. I know you weren't showing it that night, but I'm guessing nobody saw you in the morning.
It was bad. Okay. Anything else? Council reports?
Nope, they're all starting. We have the AVA QMD and the ABTA and all the rest of them coming up. And the transportation, the NCTC is all next week, so everything's coming up. We've given reports on everything else, so just timing.
Macy, I lost my card to get into the Marvin Wellness Center. Could you get me a new one?
Get you a new one tomorrow.
Thank you.
I told him no.
No, you need to give him the card so he can help so in October so we can win.
Yeah, well, we have a new captain. We got to get.
Thank you. Don't listen to these people. There's a level of cruelty at this table that, I find intolerable at times. And it seems to be directed at the oldest member of the council.
No, we were directing at you. He's the oldest.
I don't think so.
Aren't you the oldest?
No.
Aren't you 70?
No.
All right, moving on. Jason, could I have a report at the next council meeting as to the progress on Lancaster TV? We should have that up and running. And one of the reasons I've been thinking about it is, social media has killed any local news. The newspaper has limited number of reporters, has limited amount of local news. And I think to have a vibrant community, you need real news about local issues and local events, and it has to be balanced. I don't want a CNN, Fox News issues. I want balanced local news, and if we're going to have it, it's going to have to come from us. It's going to have to be the city, because I just don't see it coming. Do you?
Well, we're actually, through ABTA, we're moving a lot of the board meetings to ABTA and going to televise them there because it's a neutral position, but the AVA QMD, and we'll televise them. I've talked with both city managers, and they've agreed to give us, a particular hour, on Tuesdays or a couple hours, and show the meetings so the community can actually see the direction that the buses are going, no pun intended.
I'm hoping that we have, like this meeting, you can put this meeting in 5 minutes. What we really talked about and what was really at issue is 5 minutes. And if we have a city reporter that's doing it, it's made available to the community as to what's happening and what's going on. And we're blazing new territory because, it really does have to be balanced if we do it. But I'm hoping that we can let them creatively roam and do something that really hasn't been done before. Now, we have downstreaming capability, right? Is that correct?
I don't know what downstreaming to what. I'm trying to understand.
I mean, we have the Channel 28.
Yes.
But we also can put it on the internet.
Yes,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
So I can, sort of like Netflix it, right?
Right. Okay. Well, I think one opportunity, too, with LTV or Lancaster TV is next meeting we'll have our communications team present everything they're doing, because we're pretty proud of what their accomplishments are, so we can add that story. It's a total picture that way, because there is a lot of social media, there is the online versions, there is what we're planning on doing with LTV, so we would love to showcase that and share with you what we're doing, including all the metrics behind the scenes that oftentimes people don't see about how we engage, who we engage with, the number of engagements, those types of things we'll be happy to share. If, with your permission, we'll tell the story of communications.
Okay, wonderful. I love the idea. Also, make certain that Patty Garibay is in that discussion with how do we motivate the vaccine, because maybe we can use IBM Watson to
get those metrics down to figure out exactly what we need to do. Okay, good. Anything else, guys? So, Ms. Medrano, what's Criminal Justice Commission doing?
Well, we're actually scheduled to have our next meeting tomorrow morning, where we're going to get more reports on the drug bust that the Sheriff's Department just completed and did a press conference on. We're actually splitting into subcommittees to cover different aspects that each member of the commission took interest in. And our chair, Drew Mercy, is taking names for which subcommittees we would like to take part in to kind of delve a little bit deeper into the issues that are going on in the city. One of them is specifically the marijuana bust that did happen. I'm not too certain on some of the other ones that were drawn up, but that is something that's coming.
Good. Thank you.
With that segue, Evelyn, we have a video that we prepared for you about the drug bust. We can play that right now.
Los Angeles County has seen a significant proliferation of illegal outdoor marijuana grows, especially in the Antelope Valley. Many of these grows have been directly tied to Mexican drug trafficking organizations and Asian and Armenian organized crime groups. So estimated street value of this entire operation was $1.19 billion.
I know everyone here today shares a commitment to stop large-scale marijuana grows. This issue is plaguing the Antelope Valley, and it has potential to spread throughout Los Angeles County.
While I was at this town hall, we had a member of the cartel, an armed member of the cartel in the front row. He was there to send a clear message, not to me, but to the residents, that talking to elected officials about this problem was a bad idea. He was there to intimidate. This is not a war on the legal cannabis business in California. This illegal industry is actually terrible for the legal side of things because they have a zero-cost basis product with free water, free labor.
These aren't just props. These are actual weapons that were prepared to be used against people and animals. And the poison that's happening is just inexcusable.
My agency, we focus on protecting the diverse plant, fish, and wildlife resources for their ecological value and the habitat they depend upon, and for the enjoyment of the public. And seeing what these illegal grows have done to their habitat has been tragic. Trash and debris, just your Coke bottle and plastic bags, to illegal pesticides and fertilizers placed either within the stream or right adjacent to it. And all of that is very, very impactful to the plant and wildlife species out there.
This is the cartels. We are very, very close to driving down the freeway and seeing bodies hanging from the overpasses. That is what's coming. And if you have any doubt, our citizens have to look at this part of the gun, not this part. That is happening. People are walking into their homes and telling them, you can either be nice or you can be mean, and so can we. They are being threatened at every opportunity.
What we want to do is send a clear and loud message to the cartels and anyone doing an illegal operation in the high desert. Your days are over and we're coming for you.
No, they wouldn't let me bring the machine gun home.
I think it's important to let everybody know that if you extrapolate all the water that was being taken, it's over 180,000 acre-feet of water, and this valley only pumps 120 per year. That's how much has been taken out of the water. So it's a huge impact on our water. Huge.
Just so everybody's aware of what that means, if this continues, the ground is subsiding. When the ground subsides, it destroys the aquifer, and it never comes back. It's not like it's going to fill back up. It's not, it's not a sponge. When the ground subsides, we're toast. We lose that water table. We lose everything.
the ability to expand, the ability to bring in new businesses. Right now, it's hard to bring in new businesses and balance the water needs of them, right?
AVAC has over 100,000 acre-feet of water that they can bring from up north to here. Because of the drought, it's been limited to 5%. We can only replace 5% of that water because of the drought. It's not a commodity that we can readily have available for us. It's important that we stop it.
I do not see a greater threat to our economic well-being that represents. It is the greatest threat right now. And, thank God we have a sheriff that has the courage to take them on. I mean, that border does not protect us. This is not a racial thing. This is a money thing. And the cartels are now here. How long we let them stay here is really going to be up to us and how well the sheriff is supported. When we were out there with the sheriff and they let me drive the tractor, remember, which I greatly appreciate. It's a lot of fun. But the reason our tractor was out there 17 miles outside of our city limits is because the County of Los Angeles refused to support the sheriff. That is so totally inexplicable to me. How is that possible? But, we're going to do whatever we need to do, and if that means using our tractors instead of the county tractors, that's what it means. But, that whole massive operation only took out 40% of them. And they were rebuilding them before the operation was over. The hubris of this is beyond belief. Got any other videos?
We do. We since our last meeting, we had a concert with Trace Atkins at the Jethawks State. Well, it's Lancaster Municipal Stadium now. It's no longer Jethawks. But we have a short video on that.
I love being back in Lancaster. Back in Lancaster. I got history here. We've done a couple. Yeah. I performed here before. This baseball field is actually the field where we shot the video for the song Swing.
Why do you keep coming here? This is like the second time you've been here. You're back here in 2017, and now you're back again. What keeps you coming back to Lancaster?
Well, the first time I came is, the director of the video, Michael Solomon. He lives in L.A., and he said, I got this ballpark outside of town, and let's go. They're going to work with us, and they've been great. And so we came here, spent the day, and it was a great experience, had a good time. And then when I had an opportunity to come back and play the fair, I was like, I remember that place. Right. Let's go. So, I got fond memories of Lancaster, so it's good to be back.
So I want to give a shout out to the Parks team. It was a great attended event. I think it's a good example of way we can use the facility in a positive way and identify that we can really, once we get rid of some of the social distancing, we really pack a lot of people in there and provide a significant amount of entertainment opportunities for our community. So it was a great well done by Parks. Along that lines, July is Parks Make Life Better Month. So I want to give a shout out to Sonia and her team. They've been spinning up pretty quickly with the LPAC season coming up, the concerts, the 4th of July, things that they've been doing. So shout out to her team. She got a bunch of great people over there that work hard and commit to this community in a big way. So salute to Sonia and her team in the Parks Department. So thank you guys. That's it. Oh, one more. You may want to talk about NAMIE, our signing declaration on July 19th.
Oh, that's right. So next week, this coming week, the 17th, 19th, we will be signing the Memorandum of Understanding with the city of Namie in Japan. And they will be our sister city, and they will be working with us, and I guess we'll be competing with them to become the first hydrogen cities in the world, meaning we're powered by hydrogen. Other cities have already expressed an interest. I think this will be worldwide in a very short period of time. But on the 19th, we will be at the Consul General's house in Los Angeles, and we will be doing it virtually because Japan is still locked down. because they can't get the vaccine. It's, you know, the difference in the world in regards to vaccine is really quite astonishing. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. And then in October, we will actually go to Japan and make it a formal relationship. The main reason this is so significant to us is there's going to be a massive investment in the Antelope Valley because of this. And Japan has designated Lancaster as the hub or the launch pad for bringing the hydrogen technology to America. And that's because Toyota and Toshiba, and they jumped on this early, and they have the most patents for the fuel cells and the way to use hydrogen power. Our goal is it's going to require a lot of federal investment, and so we're going to be seeking that. But it's going to provide a bunch of jobs. It will be bigger than the BYD factory. Ultimately, this is quite a adventure. I think it's important that we bring a delegation to Japan that reflects our community, and for a lot of reasons. One is I think the reason we have done so well is we've traveled. You know. When we first started winning prizes throughout the world, I remember, what was that country you went to?
Austria,
Vienna.
He goes to Vienna and brings back a trophy bigger than him. You know, bringing it back was difficult because when you live in a place, you really don't recognize what you're doing worldwide. And we are leading the world in alternative energy in so many ways. And this is just another example of that. But that experience we had we went to the Middle East, we went to Europe, we developed ideas, and it changed me. It changed the staff that went with us. I think it's worth the investment because we've got to train up the people to take our place because, as Marvin loves to point out, we're not young.
I agree.
And I would like to have the people that come after us have that same experience and that same global view of what's possible. When Japan contacted us, it was not surprising to us because we had those experiences. We were able to immediately jump on. Today I woke up to a phone call saying you got a video conference with a conference in Germany. And well, how much time do I got? Well, you go on in an hour. But we're able to do that because we've done it so many times now. And the reason for the conference was to invite them to come here and why you want to come here instead of someplace else. We need more people that are capable of doing that. We need to train our replacements. Let's just say it the way it is. So that's what I'm going to be recommending to you. In October, I think it's going to be worth the investment.
I think it's important, but don't forget, we also traveled internally. We went to Washington, D.C. and received the EPA awards for the most vibrant city in America. So, it's important to understand that we're not only leading the United States, but we're showing the world how to change it.
That's right. That's right. And I think it gives our people the confidence to do that. It's like, yeah, that's what Lancaster does, And it was kind of fun talking to the German group about what we're doing. We're building the first hydrogen-powered airplane right here in Lancaster at Fox Field. That's huge, because everybody knows that ultimately if we're going to have a vibrant air transportation industry, we're going to have to shift to hydrogen. And so that's going to be happening here. And they're doing it in such a way they can just flip out airframes. This, put the hydrogen stuff in it and make the old airframe work. So,
Voyager 2.
huh?
Voyager 2.
Voyager 2. Anyway, that's what we're doing. So I'd like you to pay attention to the staff who we're taking. And then I would like as far as the community representatives of that, we should develop some kind of criteria to invite them. Okay? And I think we want to focus on younger people for the reasons I just said. So it'll be pretty cool, I think.
Good.
All right, where am I at? City manager, you've already done your report?
My report is done, sir.
Thank you. City clerk, let's hear from the public.
This is the time to address the City Council agency authority on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. For those who are joining telephonically and would like to comment on non-agendized items, please press star 9 at this time. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please keep in mind state law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not listed on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the city manager. Thank you. Mr. Brian Lopez, you may speak now. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. My name is Brian Lopez, and I'm here on behalf of the United Metal Recyclers of California, which is a broad coalition that supports all the jobs associated with the metal recycling industry. I just wanted to take the time to inform all of you on the importance of the recycling industry, specifically metal recycling. Recycling saves energy, and it also reduces greenhouse emissions, which helps with the climate change issue. And making steel from recycled reduces greenhouse gases by 90%. And new metal is made up of 70% recycled scrap metal. Over 1 million cars and over 1 million appliances are recycled annually in California. And there's an estimated 2,500 scrap metal recycling facilities in California. The local recycling centers in Lancaster see a good number of transactions per day, and most retail consumers at Lancaster Metal Recycling Centers are minorities. Also, scrap metal recycling provides California with an estimated 51,000 jobs that represent a total of $3.6 billion in wages. The industry's economic impact in the state is $11.5 billion, and it also generates more than $1.5 billion in tax revenue for California governments. Retail consumers have been able to support their family by collecting tons of end-of-life products that would end up in a landfill, and they consider themselves environmentalists who provide a valuable service that keeps their communities clean, and they go around neighborhoods collecting scrap metal to sell and clean up neighborhoods in the process. The Lancaster Chamber of Commerce has been vocal about supporting its local metal recycling centers and supports the jobs associated with this industry. Both the retail consumers and the workers the metal recycling centers are important to communities, and we need to protect these jobs associated with metal recycling industry against proposed regulations from the Department of Toxic Substances Control that will effectively eliminate the ability of Californians to recycle scrap metal items such as end-of-life vehicles, appliances, and everyday household scrap by driving processing facilities out of state. Please consider joining us in protecting these jobs, and feel free to visit our Facebook page at United Metal Recyclers of California for more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for him.
Sure.
Mr. Lopez, are you still there?
Yes.
We have a serious problem with catalytic converters, and your industry is at the forefront of it for the illegal conversion of the precious metals inside it. What is your industry doing to fight that?
Yes, so that is a great question. I feel like it depends on how they are processing the recycling of that. Is there a specific issue that you find in terms of with catalytic converters and how that's being processed?
Yeah, they're stealing them and then selling them to the metal recyclers for the precious metal inside them.
Yeah, so there's definitely there's a safety concern from what I'm hearing, and I definitely feel like that's definitely a very important issue. In terms of that, I think that what's important to see is what security devices or what systems, maybe even alarm systems, need to be invested in terms of people stealing from those cars. And it also depends on the cars, right? And what the security is behind those devices that they have. So I definitely, I think in terms of that, there's a safety issue that's concerned in terms of people with their cars. So I don't know if that helps answer that.
Captain, we have pawnbrokers are strictly regulated in the information they have to take when they, buy stuff off the street. Do we have, I'd like you to, it's unfair to throw it at you like this, but I'd like to know if we have a program like that in regards to the catalytic converters. And because if you walk into a pawn shop and they don't have that information, they get arrested. It's a criminal offense not to do it. And I'd like to see if we have the same thing in regards to the catalytic converters. And I also understand that if we tag enough of them, meaning, etch the serial numbers on enough of them, enough cars, that it's only a small percentage that you have to do that makes it very difficult to steal them and sell them. But I'd like to know that we're on the forefront of that, because apparently that's becoming a major problem.
It is a major problem, but I can answer it. He's been here for less than a week. But we do have the equipment to start etching. The sheriff department they're going out to some of the churches and they're etching them, and all those people that have the ability, they're pulling up, they're having two so they can do them both, but they're etching the serial numbers onto the catalytic converters, and they're doing different programs through the auto mall. So we had a major one at Hunter Dodge, and then we bought some equipment for them to be able to pull the vehicle up on, and the deputies crawl underneath and etch it. So, but it is a big problem up here.
So we're going to continue with that?
Yes.
All right. So next council meeting, let's know that we've got everything in place, and if we have to pass ordinances, we will. Okay? Thank you. I didn't realize that that's where they were taking them.
Yeah, that's where they take them in. But that happens a lot there, and we should treat them as pawnbrokers.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, good. Any other speakers?
No other speakers by way of telephone.
That's it?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I think there's a blue card.
Oh.
I am the blue card. Asia
Ms. Marshall, come on up. It's been so long since I've seen one of these speaker cards.
It was just one lonely little card in there, I know.
I forgot what they were.
Today, but hello, everyone.
Hi.
So again, I'm Asia Marshall. I'm here with my boyfriend, Doug. We bought a home in Lancaster a year ago. Yay for black home ownership, right? Now, I noticed a cat in the backyard, and at first I thought, how cute. Yeah, I have some crab. Let me give it a treat. Of course, against Doug's better judgment, because he knew this would not end well. Well, the cat must have told other cats, because more cats showed up, and which was fine, although they ruined my garden, but I was still okay with that. But cats did what cats do, and now they've had kittens, and there's kittens under my barbecue. And of course, I realized quickly, okay, this isn't like my neighbor's pet that I'm giving crab meat to. These are feral cats, and they're here because someone or multiple someones did not fix their cats, spay their cats as proper pet owners should do, right? So I caught two of the cats. They are now our precious purr babies, Mushu and Madara. I caught their mom. I paid out of pocket to have her fixed and ear-tipped. Having them ear-tipped lets other people in the community know, okay, this cat has been fixed. You don't need to catch it and spay it. My problem is the cat's name is Bib. That's what I call her. Bib brought her friends. So now there are other cats. And quite frankly, Doug and I just bought this home. We're renovating the home. I don't have money to be paying to spay these feral cats, right? Now, back to Mushu and Madara, our purr babies. I went to go and get them vaccinated at our lovely Lancaster Animal Control Center. Great. They have a low-cost vaccine program. Totally took advantage. Went there twice. They gave us this flyer. Oh, we also have public spay and neuter, low cost. I thought, great, I'll have Mushu and Madara spayed here. Sent in my application. They denied me, and I thought, well, that's odd. I live in Lancaster. You're doing this in Lancaster. Why am I denied? I ended up actually speaking with the surgeon who performs the surgeries there, and I think she's now overtaken the whole program. But in any case, they kind of threw y'all under the bus. They said you guys declined to participate in the program, and I thought, well, that's interesting. There's a city council meeting tomorrow. Let me go by and ask. So I want to know, did you guys decline it to participate in this program? Do you plan on participating in the program? And if you did decline it, why? Make it make sense for me, right? Because there's clearly an issue with feral cats in the community. And if people knew about this program, hopefully they'd take advantage. I had to jump through a lot of red tape, and I still haven't even been able to participate in it. So I'd like to see that happen.
I wish I knew everything. I do not know that we canceled it recently, but I can research it and identify if that's a program that you want to commit to. We can see what it costs and move forward on the program.
Well, I'd like to at least find out why.
But we do have there is a nonprofit that does come in for our feral cats that actually does it. But the county actually charges us $35 per cat when they go into the shelter. If we can put up homeless cheaper than what they charge us per cat to do it. How much did we pay? We paid like $800,000 for cats last year.
No. $800,000.
Yeah, it was more than homeless. I remember that.
So there's
still
there's
doing
a
that?
problem, but we do have a nonprofit organization that comes in and takes the cats, spades them, then puts them back in. They ear tip them.
I think you're talking about the Simi Valley, like they have a truck, right? And they park in the local.
Actually, I know the people, but I don't know the name of the organization. It's actually a councilman from the city of Palmdale.
Right.
That does it and participates with it. They come out and they trap them, and then they do it. It's a good program, but I think we need to maybe we can put it in the Outlook that and give them more publicity of where they're at, how to locate them, and what to do. If we're not going to participate with the county, I think we should participate with at least the nonprofit.
If you're talking about the Simi Valley one, the truck that shows up in the Palmdale parking lot, or maybe it's Lancaster, I don't recall, but it's a truck that does it. Maybe you want to remind them or give them a little nudge to make it a little easier for people to participate. They make you call on Sundays at 8 a.m. specifically. I called this past Sunday at 10:30, haven't heard back. So if that's what they're working with here, just call on Sunday at 8 a.m. and 10 people are calling on Sunday at 8 a.m., how is everyone supposed to participate? So I think they need to open up that line, right? Leave a message if you have to. Everybody's got voicemail now, right? Leave a voicemail, let us know that you want an appointment, and we'll call you back. That's what needs to happen if that's the program, in fact, that you're talking about.
Jimmy Costas from your office is part of that.
With my office.
Yeah, well, that was with your office before.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Tell me about this $800,000 for cats.
That is a lot of money.
So the cats, the feral cats that she is mentioning, we've met with the county on numerous occasions. If she were to trap the cat, she can take it in to the animal control. They will accept the cat, and then 75% of the cats they accept, they will then euthanize. In the period of time between when they get the cat and they euthanize the cat, they charge us $35 a day for the storage of that cat. So we are, in essence, serving as contract killers for cats that are stored in our LA County's animal control section. As it relates to the spay and neuter, I'm not familiar with that, but the storage of those cats cost the taxpayers money, and it's a significant number.
So what if we don't want to pay that money?
Lee has been working diligently with them, arguing with them, debating with them, and I'll turn it over to him to identify where we're at with that.
I can tell you now the county's new cost model for all contract cities now is a 10-day flat rate storage on any animal comes in. whether they stay there a day or the full 10 days. But with cats, as Jason said, significantly what impacts our costs as it relates to animal housing as well as veterinary needs and things there is cats. Cats are significant. So as that's been an ongoing discussion, they have gotten better about the things that the county is doing at the shelter as it relates to cats for adoptions. Dogs have become very well done. Okay, they have a lot of agencies they work with, nonprofits outside of the animal control facilities that adopt dogs, and their program's very robust. It's something they're working on with cats. But the cost is shocking. And then, again, this is a fight ongoing. Actually, we are working with Palmdale and Santa Clarita addressing this issue. For the North County especially, we are the biggest stakeholders in this process with the county and animal control based on cost.
Well, why can't we just tell them to quit taking cats?
Basically, that's kind of where we're at. Okay, we've done that already because the truth is, and I'm glad you brought up the point about marking the ear tip and things, because a lot of folks that don't like cats capture the cats, and then the county will come and recover them, or they bring them in to animal control, and then the taxpayers of the city foot the bill for that. Well, all those cats may be someone's pet, okay, and then that cat gets adopted, and guess when it goes to another area, people let their cat outside. I mean, so what are we accomplishing by capturing these cats and housing them and adopting them? So the identification program is valuable, that those cats are someone's pet. That's
But yes,
important to
make it
disseminate.
easy for people to spay them and microchip them. We shouldn't be jumping through all this red tape to get it done. Now, I don't mind the cats pooping in my garden. My stuff died anyway. So I don't need you guys to store them. I'm happy with them, hanging out. But I do want to get them fixed so that there aren't so many.
We'll research the spay and neuter program. I don't know that off the top of my head. If there's other organizations that can do this,
I
or
want
if
you to
there's
research how you stopped paying the county $800,000
we have been
to
working on that.
house cats that they then kill. I mean, Heather, we could probably use $800,000 with homeless people much more efficiently, I think, right?
Absolutely. And I'll find out the cost of a shelter bed for an anchor person.
Well, that's what we were joking about, is if they brought in a couple cats, we can give them a hotel room cheaper.
Cute. So how do I follow up to find out what it is that you guys end up doing?
Your card has the number on it.
Mhm.
The city manager or his appointee will call you back.
Just if someone gets appointed.
No, we will call you back and let you know
Okay.
what the solution is.
Thank you.
Yes.
But great presentation.
I know sans PowerPoint, but yeah, I think you guys got it. Thank
Great
you so
job.
much.
I think I want a couple of those cats because I got all these squirrels that are tearing up our
Got my
garden.
address, and you know what? I haven't seen a squirrel the entire time we've been there. He says you should be happy about the cats, right? The squirrels would really do something to your garden.
So how do you get them to stay in the yard and outside of the house?
Put some food out. They'll stick around. They'll keep coming back. Tuna. It's
The same-
smelly. They'll come.
I got to look into this. Unless it takes a vote of council, not one more dime goes to the county to house cats.
Understood.
Good. I mean, we're not contractually bound to do this, are we?
No, absolutely not. Okay, I mean, the
They
thing
must
is,
laugh when they see us
this has
coming.
been a discussion that Jason and I had very robust discussions with the county, because exactly as Jason portrayed it, is that we've become a mechanism for the destruction of these animals, and we pay for the euthanization on top of the housing and everything as well. And it may be someone's pet. It may very well be someone's pet that someone else has captured and given control to animal control to charge us for.
Well, they should be microchipping their pets.
You know, half the struggle of being a vibrant city is the county. Wow, that's unbelievable. $800,000. What else we got? Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
You are so welcome.
How many kids could we send to college with $800,000?
Think of how many cats you could send to college.
So what are we paying for dogs?
Okay, significantly less because of the efforts that's been made to adopt those animals out and send them to a more appropriate setting for adoption for them beyond the 10-day limit.
What a racket.
Mayor, the cats are not as readily adoptable as dogs. That's just the reality of it.
Well, why pick them up in the first place?
That's been our argument. Yeah.
I mean, they seem to take care of themselves quite well. I mean,
we've all heard of the dog catcher. We've never heard of the cat catcher.
Well, you are now. There's some money to be made in this. I mean, does the county pay people to bring them in? All right, good. We got anything else? I'm done. Do we have a closed session?
Not tonight.
Life is good. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 27th, 2021 at 5 p.m. And Carol, my day is done and I'm coming home unless Marvin invites me to dinner.
You have to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, the meeting is adjourned.